Today we have something unbelievably special, one of the rarest cars that I've gotten to see in my whole time at this job, and we have the car's owner, Brian, who has brought us this 1993 Toyota Sera, I guess is how you pronounce it?
Yeah, that's right. It's a Toyota Sera, huh?
And this car is super cool. So it's a right-hand drive Japanese market car that they made from 1990 to 1995. And they made just over 15,000 of them total, I think.
Correct, right.
Which is crazy. So how did you find this car? How did you become aware of them?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. I had no idea what I was looking for when I first started searching for a right-hand drive car. And I was looking at AutoZams, I was looking at, K-cars.
Yeah, a lot of the traditional cars that people think of when they think of a Japanese market-specific car.
Right. And I was just doing research and I happened to stumble upon this car in a video that someone had done on YouTube. It actually was regular car reviews. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I saw that and was like, that is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. Does Sera have some other meaning in Japanese, or is that just kind of a name they picked?
Not really, actually, no. Yeah, there's really no meaning to Sera, yeah.
All right, I'll go ahead and roll up this side glass. Wow, there's so much glass.
There is.
Crazy. That is way cool.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of fun. Like, the thing I like about it is it actually does fit a large person like me, so I can actually...
Well, yeah, it feels a lot more spacious than being in a K car, and I think part of that is probably because there's all this glass above me.
Right.
So it almost feels like I've got a big sunroof open or I'm in a convertible because I can just see everything around me.
Right.
It's really cool. A couple things about this car that make it really cool. For one, the size of it is pretty compact. So this is actually built on a steel monocoque chassis from what I understand. It is a fairly compact car. It's bigger than a K car.
It is, it's just a tad bigger,
Which is nice because that makes it probably a little easier on American roads. And also, if you want to bring multiple people, it does have 4 seats, which is pretty good.
It actually does have 4 seats, yeah. That was one of the reasons I did not go with the AutoZam, because that is a K car. It's even smaller.
Yeah.
And K cars can't really go on the highway,
Yeah, exactly. Now, one of the cool things that if you know anything about these cars, you'll know immediately. I also gotta say, I love this color. This color is so cool. But when you pop the door, look at that. Oh, it's got butterfly doors. That is absolutely epic. And looking at it from this angle, you can see there's quite a lot of glass in the door, but actually you have the very rare, basically impossible to replace sunshade, so that even pops out, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, luckily my car came with these. If they were not included, there was pretty much no way I could get these.
Well, especially here in Colorado, there's really no way that you're going to get away with not having those shades because the sun is intense here. And now that door is basically completely glass from top to bottom. And if you've seen vehicles like Subaru SVX, you probably have already an idea of how this opens. So it would be what, just this section here that rolls down, right?
Correct.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. Is that enough? It seems like a pretty small section of glass that actually rolls down. Can you reach out of it?
It is barely big enough. There is not a lot of room. There's not a lot of airflow from a window that size either. So AC is absolutely essential on this.
Yeah, well, but look at that. There's so much glass, which is really cool. Now I think one of the complaints back in the day was that there was a little bit of an obstruction of visibility with this B pillar here, but if that is your biggest obstruction, then you're looking at a car that's got a lot of glass. The canopy on this is crazy, and even this trunk portion here is huge, and you've got some heating strips in here, which is cool.
And yeah, they actually work, so I've had to use them in the winter.
Yeah, so do you drive this year round?
I don't drive it all the time. This is not my daily driver, but I do drive it, at least once a month. I take it into shows. I drove it to Phoenix and back, actually. And
nice. How was it on the highway that whole way?
Not as bad as you might expect. I wish it had cruise control. That's the only thing, but that was just not available.
And it's nice and quiet inside. It's comfortable. The seat's comfortable.
It's really not that bad. The suspension, the coilover springs are a little bit stiff, so the suspension is stiffer than stock right now. But it's still, it's not too bad.
And when you had it, I guess when you got it initially, it was on the stock suspension.
Right. They were absolutely shot. Like, like oil was pouring out of them. Like
Yeah.
it was, they were shot. They were done.
Well, and what is cool though is that you said that there's a couple parts on this that you can get that are refurbished or rebuilt. So like the struts on the doors you had to, at least one of the doors you had to replace, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, a lot of the parts come from the UK and Australia, where they were imported sooner.
And here, let's pop the trunk. So
Sure.
that way you can toss your shade, and we can also show probably the most iconic, famous feature of this car, aside from the butterfly doors, is this super live sound system. So this was an option on the car, right? Not
Right.
all of them have it.
Right.
Have you seen, are there a lot of them that don't have the sound system?
The majority of them don't have it.
Really?
Actually, yeah. I think that less than half of them have it.
So what this does, and here, do you want to toss your
Sure.
sunshade in here?
Yeah,
Actually, check this out too. So there's a pretty big trunk back here underneath your speakers, which is pretty cool. And there's a subwoofer down there. Dude, how
Stock
cool is that?
subwoofer, right?
So that's part of the sound system on the car. The other part of it that is kind of the most notable and probably the most iconic part of this sound system is this almost like a boombox that's here behind these rear seats in the trunk. And if you read in here, it says that the speakers are in casual mode. So there's actually a button on this, and what it allows you to do is you press a button on the head unit and then it goes into funky mode.
Correct. Would you like to see it?
Yeah, actually that would be awesome.
Okay.
So this
Okay.
is something, and I looked around online to try and find someone showing a video demonstrating this feature. These cars are so rare, it's really hard to find actual video of these speakers changing their mode.
Yes, it is really difficult to set these up because a lot of the time the head unit has been swapped for
Right.
something aftermarket.
Yeah.
And aftermarket head units can't operate that function.
Yeah. So are you up for
Absolutely.
flipping it in a funky mode? Let's see
Okay,
this.
you ready?
I'm actually pretty excited about this myself. So if you look back here, now it says funky mode, and you can see it's actually changed color. And you said that when it's in funky mode, it doesn't sound that great, huh?
That's true. So the system is like from absolutely 1993. The speakers are a little bit brittle. What's funny is that there's a reverb. There's a software reverb that the stock head unit turns on, and you can turn that on and off. So in funky
Right.
mode, it sounds pretty good, but when the reverb is on, which is what they intended you to do, it sounds a little weird.
Yeah.
It's a little strange.
So do you know what does it actually do when you switch it into funky mode?
Well, so the speaker rotates, and what they're trying to do is take
like
the
point it
sound
up?
and reflect it off the glass.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the actual intention was for, especially with the reverb. Like, I wonder if it was supposed to be like a concert hall
Yeah.
or something. Like, I don't really know.
But it wasn't really the sound that you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, when I first tried it out, I was like, oh, okay, I mean, that's a cool feature, but I'm not going to use it.
Yeah. And then is it easy to switch it back into casual? We could show.
Let's try it.
Yeah, we can show back here. So apparently it's a little finicky, but if it works, you'll actually see, yeah, there it goes.
It went nice.
Yeah. So it actually moves back into casual mode. That's really cool. I know people are probably like, why is this guy nerding out on this one feature with the sound system? I think that's really cool. And if we open up this side door too, you can see a little bit more of what makes the sound system interesting. If you poke your head in there, you'll notice that there's speakers all over the dash, and it's kind of cool the way that they're integrated in there. They all say Sera Super Live Sound System, and it almost looks like something that someone placed there aftermarket. But it's not. That's how it is.
It absolutely was factory, but it was funny because the option was possible to have dealer installed. So it is like they drilled holes into the dash and put it in.
Yeah. So it almost is like a little bit of an afterthought. Maybe not. But a really apparently rare and cool option. And there weren't tons of options on these cars, but you were saying that there's another really rare option, and that's the transmission. Trying to find a manual, I guess, pretty difficult.
Right, yeah, this one is a 4-speed automatic, which the majority of them were.
Yeah.
The manuals, I'm not exactly sure how many, but it was less than 10% of all Seras were
Wow,
manual.
yeah.
A 5-speed manual, and if you can find those, then they're very rare.
Yeah, and probably a good chunk of change, right?
They tend to go for a premium, yeah.
Yeah. Also, the interior in general is pretty cool. So yeah, you do have some funky 90s style in here. Look at those floor mats. And they are a little worn in, not worn out, but it says Sera, or it would have, on the bottom of that floor mat. And I bet that's another piece, kind of like the sunshades, that have to be just absolutely impossible to replace.
Yes, if I put the seat forward, the rear one actually is in much better condition. It has the Sera emblem on there.
Says it on there too?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Right there in the middle. Yeah, again, that's got to be something totally impossible to replace. And you do have back seats in this car. They don't look like spacious back seats, but you have back seats, which is cool.
They exist, you know.
Yeah.
I've seen people put like child booster seats in there.
Really?
It fits a child very well.
Yeah.
I've had my sister in the back. It was very tight.
Yeah. The other thing that surprises me is that initially this car was actually pretty inexpensive for you to buy when you bought it in Japan, right?
Correct. Yeah. The MSRP of this car was like less than $15,000. So
Yeah.
like it wasn't an expensive car to begin with. And the prices have gone up since the pandemic. I got this before the prices really went up. So I only paid $4,000 for this car, and now they're worth more like 10 to 12.
Yeah, and even that is not that bad, because there's a lot of really cool, really rare Japanese cars that are going for tons of money, especially some of the really iconic cars, you know, the original NSX, a lot of the different generations of the GTR, Mark IV Supras. There's tons of really expensive, cool Japanese cars out there, and this, even at around 10 grand, that's not too bad for a car that's this special.
Absolutely, yeah. It's crazy how Supras, GTRs, they can go up to 100,000. It's
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, like this is a 30-year-old car. Yeah.
And it's cool. Again, you know, it's not a super fast car or anything, and I'm not hammering on it, obviously, because this is a very rare car. I don't want to beat up on it and be cruel, but it is still with that turbo powertrain. It feels pretty spry, pretty healthy, even here at altitude. It's got no problem getting up to speed. So this was a car that you actually bought in Japan, right?
Correct, right. I got this at an auction in Tokyo. And when I picked it up, they told me that there was an oil leak. And this was in the middle of the pandemic in 2020, so I was not able to go over there and see it myself. But it wasn't an oil leak, it was blowing blue smoke.
Yeah, which is worse than an oil leak.
Much worse. So anyways, I've swapped out the motor. This engine is from a Toyota Starlet GT or Glanza 5.
And you were saying, too, that you still have your original motor from this car, but I guess there's a hole in the side of the block?
Yes, unfortunately, I drove it back from the port in LA.
Yeah.
And that's how I figured out that it was blowing smoke. And unfortunately, it threw a rod just outside of Boulder here.
Yeah, so, you know, it's one of those things that at the end of the day, the motor was not really the highlight of this car from the get-go. So in my mind, this still a Toyota motor, still a really cool thing to have. And the fact that this is also a turbo powertrain here at altitude is a nice thing to have. The
turbo makes a big difference, and it fit just perfectly. This is the stock Sera transmission.
Nice.
So everything bolted in perfectly. It looks like it could be factory.
Now, I think a question on a lot of people's minds might partly be, how does it drive? And we're going to get it on the road in a second. But the question that was definitely on my mind when I first saw this, heard about it, was doing my little bit of basic Wikipedia research. How hard is it to find parts for this car, just in general?
So it depends on what you're looking for. The drivetrain is similar to the Toyota Tercel. So some parts like brakes, oil filters, I can get engine components like the strap-on ones, like the belt-driven ones. Those I can get at AutoZone or O'Reilly's. But
okay, so that's pretty easy.
Right, but some of the sensors, anything cosmetic whatsoever, the suspension as well. I had to make the stock suspension was blown, so I had to have custom coilovers made because it is impossible to find anything.
Yeah, because no one's making new parts, probably the specific parts for this. It's just not going to happen. And I would imagine if, for example, if you got a rock kicked up into your headlight and it cracked the headlight, that's got to be impossible to find.
Yeah, no, these headlights, they're absolutely impossible.
And they're also really cool headlights because they are projectors. This is 1993. That's early for a projector headlight.
This is one of the first models that had it, right? Yeah, the Skyline and a few others starting in 1990, I think, had them.
Yeah. Sorry, this is very disorganized, but I want to show something on the back of the car that I noticed earlier while we're talking about lights. I love the way that the taillight has a gradient from the black in the center to the actual red of the taillight across it. I just think design-wise, that is really cool, the way they fade into the taillight. How sweet is that? It's a lot quicker than a lot of the K cars that I've driven.
Yes, yeah, I've had this car. I mean, I don't want to get myself in trouble, but it will do highway speeds. It'll do healthy speeds. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is, of course, always a little bit of a transition. Anytime I get into a right-hand drive, I almost just did again as I was talking about it. The turn signal on the right. You know,
I forgot to mention that the turn signal is it's totally backwards.
So a huge thanks to you for bringing it out, letting us film it, and for letting me drive this very special vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's my pleasure.
Thanks again. That's all for this video. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next.